Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me jump on and make sure. We are officially in fall, I do believe. It's getting kind of brisk out there. Make sure I'm in here. There we go. All right. So today's masterclass is going to be addressing our triggers again. So I'm going to get on the right screen here. And I'm going to label that as rebuilding your universe. And as we can see, it can be scary, daunting, overwhelming when we start to create these changes in our lives. And each new step that we try to take in improvement will obviously take practice. You can't just master something in one day, right? And when we don't master things and continue to be harsh on ourselves as the old way of things and we start reverting back. And when we do that, we therefore are not being in presence and we're not learning all of the traits that this lesson has been given to us because of. I want to use this masterclass to do one thing, and that is this slide. Take the time to be confident in being silent until you can respond in the discussion. Do not continue to practice in a reactive way. You are better than that. You are better than that because of all the work that we've all been doing together in this group. You're moving forward, and part of moving forward is doing these journaling habits to find what you do want and need in life to be productive, to be fulfilled, to feel happiness all of the time. And you can't get there again in one day. You will be fighting these old habits, which is why I want you to know that being silent and still is a response in a discussion. Being silent and still in a discussion is having a response. No is a response. Simple things that sometimes we forget are still responses. And we forget them because we don't practice this. We don't take the time to sit down and have the reflection to know if we're doing things in a purposeful way that will get us forward instead of staying in those old habits. So I want you to look at your relationships in the same way that you look at your children. These children are lost little beings. They don't know our lives. They're new to it. When you're creating a new life too and a new version of yourself, you therefore are going to start educating everyone around you like they're your little babies because your relationship is now evolving and becoming something new, like a new baby. It needs to be presented with grace and being gentle. So when we take the time to learn what our new wants and needs are, it can also be draining on us. So we need to take the patience and the understanding for ourselves too, as us being that infant and giving ourselves healing time, growing time, understanding time. Because ultimately, the biggest obstacle we have is because we are empaths. We do understand other people's point of views. And when we pattern interrupt those for them, they get easily triggered. Therefore, we become easily triggered because we're not being explained well because they are overwhelmed that we need a change, that we are overwhelmed because they're so used to us taking it all in all the time. So being able to explain those things to your partners and your other types of relationships gently makes it so that those changes have time to go into effect. If you need time to process in that silence of your discussions, it's still important to do that, but you need to explain why you're doing it. You can't just walk away. So the most important part is when you're in a discussion of some kind or you're being triggered and you decide to take a moment to gather yourself and to process so that you can move forward in a positive way and not just react, you still have to set a time to come back again. if you do not set the time to come back again, does that person not feel abandoned? Does that person not, therefore, not want to come back to a situation because it wasn't handled in the best way? Some relationships can be saved. Humans are all striving for one thing, and it's to feel understood and to have contentment. But some of us don't, like me, that I don't like to be in contentment. I like to have change, and I like to have new things and bright things and to be joyful. And that requires some spontaneity. But in a controlled atmosphere like myself, when I'm trying to control hurt for other people, I lose that happiness and the spontaneity that can save some of my relationships. Because we're empaths and feelers and healers, we feel everything around us, but that's also debilitating us. Not creating those boundaries and explaining them and creating a leader in our environments for ourselves is therefore squandering our relationships with other people too. Not everyone will move forward. So in one of my other videos, I talk about the whirlpools. And if we stay in a moment where we think we can be a hero and a victim at the same time, we are not evolving forward. We are staying put. You are not mastering two worlds if nothing changes. You are staying in the whirlpool of bad habits. In order to get through that, you first do need to forgive yourself. And in order to forgive others, we have to become secure in the understanding of others. Once we can understand things, our triggers do die down. Most of the time, when we are getting triggered and then we start to lash out, we are lashing out to seek credit and to get validation. And sometimes when that happens, we end up shaming other people. And when we end up shaming other people, it's because they have caused us pain. So again, we can't stay in a victim and a hero atmosphere. So if we want something to happen, we're usually looking for a validation. We want an equal energetic exchange. But when we stay in the victim and the hero mindset, the energetic exchange is only giving the exchange of an equal feeling of hurt. Why would we want to spread hurt if we can know that there is a better way? Setting the new boundaries and explaining why you will not accept those other behaviors is your responsibility for your own happiness and your own protection. But you will live in some regret if you're not taking that moment to explain why you need this boundary. The other person's follow through after that to come with you is their responsibility too. So that is ultimately one of the biggest obstacles that we all face is we know we want change, but we don't want to explain it because therefore we then acknowledge it and we make ourselves responsible for creating the change, and we don't want to leave behind these other people because therefore responsibility to follow along with us if they wanted to. So if you really want to rebuild your universe, you need to have a point that you know something is not okay. So you need to take a point. Sorry. You need to take a moment to make your valid point and explain it to the person through a story that is not incriminating. I have an article that I'm going to post in the comments when this is done, and that will walk you through exactly how to do this. Thinking of this as ignoring the bad behaviors. So a lot of us are really great parents. We all lose our temper sometimes. But in the moments that you're being a really great parent, it is the moment that you are looking outside of the bad behavior and you're seeing that they just want attention. You look outside of the bad behavior and you're saying, wow, they're lost. So there, when you can get to that point of understanding with everyone around you, you are no longer triggered. That is how we show that we are growing. We practice the silence and the reflection. Therefore, we understand more. So, therefore, we forgive others faster But in order to forgive others faster and to understand, we have to come to our own epiphanies and start taking credit for the good and the bad that we are doing ourselves. If you want to stay in a victim cycle, that's when you don't take credit for the good and the bad. Maybe you take credit for the good, but not the bad. Being in the creator cycle of creating the changes and the happiness that we want in our lives, we therefore do have to take credit of the good and the bad. If you would stop waiting for them to change and step up and start leading by example, you would then take responsibility of your own happiness, which is why I love all of you and I know that you can do this. So I want you to have a fabulous day, as I know that you will. And I know that you're going to lead by example because you're here with me. And I know that you want to take responsibility of your happiness. So I encourage you to read the article as soon as this gets posted and have a wonderful day.